Hello there everyone and welcome back. It is time to put the Space Marines behind us and dive back into the Eldari. And boy, I'm looking forward to this one a little bit. For when Armada 2 was announced and all 12 factions were going to be released for the game, I was really excited at the potential once I learned about the Craft World fleet. For I really liked the Torpedoes and Pulsars the Corsairs were bringing, so what better way to accommodate that? Get rid of their fragile trait and encourage them to get more in your opponent's face with heavier armor, with the same durability and really almost no compromise or no cost to your fleet. Almost quite literally is the case. I do sacrifice a little bit of the stuff. Yeah, I sacrifice the star cans for these cruisers at least, but it remains to be seen how much practicality there is outside the cruisers themselves, because you seriously can't make much of an argument against 8 torpedoes for crying out loud. It is a little bit absurd, especially when you consider they ignore armor completely. Damn. But I am going to make a serious attempt for looking into some carrier type fleets. Sadly, the light cruisers might be I probably am not going to look at them too much, just mainly because they only have 2 charges, never mind the fact they have less fighter squadrons, so it's a lot more easier for them to lose those fighters and bombers just because of that alone. Never mind the fact that there's 2 charges, which really hurts their longevity, but I'm going to make an attempt on maybe an objective-based type of fleet that relies heavily on the carriers. It remains to be seen if there's enough merit to it to justify using throughout the week for the YouTube video, but that is what my plan is, because I'm going to get bored just going cruisers all day. I really would like to get into my light cruisers. They're a lot more fun, they're a lot more mobile. Although, like I said, you can't argue with 8 torpedoes for crying out loud. I just liked the light cruisers because they're more mobile. They can bait the opponents so much more better, especially if they're boosting towards you. There's a lot of potential to them that I don't think really got utilized because of how overshadowed they are for the cruiser versions. But I am going to use Pulsars, and the main trick with them is trying to get down the timing properly, which I'll talk a little bit more as we go in there, but using the clock to keep track of that 20-second duration or recharge time is pretty key, since there's no other convenient way to utilize them. But I'm excited for this nonetheless. This was my most anticipated faction, especially for the Eldari fleet, since I enjoyed my Auroras and Torpedoes that much back in Armada 1. So let's have a good time. Oh boy, Tyranids. I think this may even be the same person I played against in my warm-up match, so I feel sorry for them. That must have been frustrating. Since the awkward thing about this fleet is I have no easy way to reveal their ships. I kind of have to nosedive into it a little bit, but I am going to swap out the Maelstrom for a beacon to help with that to some regard. It could be the same person, I can't quite recall what the fleet even was. But since I'm using all cruisers, ooh, thank you. I think it's a different person because I figured they would have said this already in my warm-up match. But like I was saying before when I was doing my Space Marine Strike Cruiser fleet, going all cruisers is kind of the new light cruisers for the purposes of grabbing the objective and just controlling the map a little bit, especially with this kind of mobility I have too. It's a little more trickier with the battleships despite the ridiculous speed, but if you have micro warp jump, that is not a problem at all, as we've kind of seen already multiple times. And I do have the extended range for the flagship, so at least that way, it can hang back a little more safer at no risk, while also being able to contribute pretty damn well. I really did have to think on if this is if this has merit or not. And since I'm going to be kind of doing my attacks in waves, why not remove that factor altogether and allow this flagship to attack at the same time as the other 2 ships. Since I am kind of trying to control this in 2 fleets, and there isn't really much upgrades that I like for the Asuryani that at least goes well with my torpedoes, let alone the Pulsars, so I'm kind of forced to try to get additional troop damage, which is not going to go well against Tyranids due to how much crew they have, for crying out loud. But main strategy is watch for mistakes, listen for rushes. Ooh. Okay, so we know where 2 of these Devourers are. Oh, everything's over there. Well, that makes my job easy. Now the big question... I know what I was going to do. I was going to change this out for the asteroid shields. I did do that for my warm-up match. I just didn't think about it due to my monologuing. Because I actually can use this to kind of destroy... distract the fighters really quickly, or the boarding parties, I could check their speed to know firsthand what they are. They are kind of, they look like they're fighters. The boarding parties or the assault ships go 200 unit speed, and the harpies, I'm hoping I'm saying that properly. I get criticized for saying herpies instead of harpies, so I'm paranoid now. Thanks a lot, damn it, people. Random people who said that. People I know and play with on a regular basis. But that's not near here or there. I could... Actually, there's a gas cloud here. Why the hell was I even worried? I was fixated more on the asteroid belts and talking about the upgrade being useful. Especially for these to actually lose their lock. So I don't have to run away constantly. No, didn't pay attention to that bomb. But not a big issue. I took hardly any damage. But that's going to play a part later. Now I know where they are. I kind of want... Oh, what? Is this intended? This feels like cheating. You see what I see, right? I feel like a bad person now. If that is a bug or just a weird fluke, that needs to get fixed immediately. It goes without saying, because I don't actually see it over here. Yeah, that is unfortunate. I am sorry, fella. This is... I can't just say no to this information. But I know you're there, I just don't know what it is. And I did use a beacon in the wrong direction. I gotta be ready to turn around immediately, though. Since that's likely gonna try and rush me. It is gone. Oh, that is the flagship. So that is good intel to note. Can I actually kill it with that said? Since that did give a genuine vision, I just don't know what the heck to make of that. It's a little glitch, because now it's gone. Oh. Okay, I take that back. That is weird. I hate abusing this anymore. I'm just going to stop looking. But we are losing the objectives some. But I have beacon here. We're going to grab these quickly. I'm going to have 3 objectives really quick. And the direction does point me either way to where the flagship is. I gotta be ready to punish this little maneuver down here, for when they eventually grab it. And the fighters... Oh, they've just been recalled. That's what's going on. I still see it, damn it. I wasn't intending to look, but that's what happened. So now I have vision of you, although it's going to be short-lived, isn't it, because of the gas cloud. So maybe I just go after the flagship with that said. Oh, that was bad. I thought they were straightening up a little bit. I guess not. At least the plus side, well, I am going to have to be ready to punish that heavily. But what I'm going to do is wait for a beacon, grab this objective, and it'll reveal the entire gas cloud. And I still see your shroud effect of the flagship. I don't want to abuse it anymore. I'm just going to stop looking, but that gives me a tell. I just want to time it with the beacon. It's the one thing I want to do first.
I stand ready. Underway.
And then I can do a massive amount of hurt really quickly with the use of the beacon to enable for me. Just gotta be mindful of boarding, but let's get ready to do this. Fighters are not a big threat, it's the boarding parties I'm worried about. And there's one of the hive ships. Sadly, that did not work the way I want, but it did force a rush result. Good damage there. Can we do it some more? Because now you have nothing to hide from and you just fed me a beacon. I did not look at the timer very well, but we know you used your rush and everything. So I think we're good here for now. I just gotta get the killing blow now. Oh, I did not mean to fire, but that works. Did that kill it? Nope, but it's pretty damn dead. It's just gonna board me, is it? Now, gotta watch for disruption bomb and all that fun stuff. I am gonna run into a spore mine, so be careful of that. Oh, and I did get boarded heavily, so permanent engine destruction, I didn't pay attention to the boarding parties. But flagship can hit that. Sadly, you are pretty useless, but you can grab objectives for me pretty well. Sadly, my cooldowns were unaffected there, but can we at least do more damage here? Could have done that a little better, but can we get the kills? Yeah, I messed up a little bit. Can I kill you? Oh, you're just gonna burn to death. I don't need to do anything about you. But engine permanent critical hits, so finish these off now. There. I'm at risk of hitting myself, which is not what I had in mind. Interesting, the flag. Oh yeah, I know what shenanigans you were doing there. You were just trying to. Let's see. I have torpedoes. I want torpedoes. Can I get the torpedoes? No, those were bad torpedoes. I am out of torpedoes, sadly. I see what the plan was. I could have chased it to curse this thing down, but gotta keep in mind I did hold my fire some too, which doesn't help in that matter. So that was the flagship. We kind of knew that. I did a bad job on my engagements, and I have no more torpedoes, do I? Yeah, no torpedoes, so I should be trying to play this properly and just completely evade altogether. And I didn't even notice all the boarding too, so how much of that had to do with boarding parties? That is a shame. There was a bit of a conflict of interest there. That is a shame. If I had pursued the flagship, that would have been an easy victory. It goes without saying, since everything else would have broken. But nonetheless, how could I have done that better? Well, really, I did hold fire some. Sadly, I wasn't really prepared for the rush in response to the disruption bomb. That was a bit of a mistake there. Because I could have had myself ready to launch torpedoes and maybe kill one of them immediately, since they were conveniently jumping into the torpedoes too. But we'll try and figure it out. Slow and steady. And again, well, not a big issue. I could have swapped this over to something a little more useful, which probably would have been the polarized field. Okay, Vito Connie. So this is a different Tyranid player altogether. Maybe this is the one I'm thinking of who was in the warm-up match. Which means we probably are just going to have a simpler battle, perhaps. We will see. That feels like it can go really well. I wasn't really actively paying attention. Well, I'm just coming up with excuses now, aren't I? But if I know both the rushes are expelled or expended, then that's when I should dive in with the torpedoes. It's questionable if I should dive in there super aggressively, but with my Wraithbone shift, but I have higher speed than their battle cruisers anyway, even their light cruisers, so I can to an extent get away. And it's a question, yeah, since I can't really destroy engines, I seriously should be switching the reload. The critical hit isn't all that significant, I would argue, especially with crushing claws. That was probably another mistake I should not have been doing. Very subtle thing, at least in that matter, to at least optimize the fleet. And no, you stay back there. But it goes without saying, disruption bomb for both the torpedoes and the pulsars is kind of necessary, and if it hits, it's going to do amazingly. The trick, though, is figuring out where the ships are, And there's a very linear path to where everything is going to go through. Nope, and we get a beacon right away. Easy giveaway where flagship is, at least. So let's start grabbing and see if we can evade that beacon immediately. Nope, I wasn't hoping. I wouldn't have wanted both my cruisers, or at least one. I would have liked both my cruisers to capture a point to speed things along. Is what I'm trying to say. And otherwise, I should be listening also for rushing. Yep, you can hear it there.
You have seized a strategic area.
I'm still curious if it would give an audible cue for the Krakens or the frigates if they try and do a boost. Or a rush, rather. But, yep, we got plenty of time. We evade the beacon without an issue. The only sad thing about these reloads, they do almost nothing for me besides maybe speed up the torpedoes, and they don't help my pulsar rate of fire at all. And now, the big question, I don't think I recall hearing tracking senses, but I may have been monologuing too much again. So that would be a tell that they're within 9,000 range. I'm gonna have a beacon in a moment to help.
The enemy has seized a strategic area.
Since, let's see, we should spot them in a moment. I gotta be ready to evade immediately, since I will be in boarding range once I do get spotted. Or maybe I got spotted because of the beacon without realizing it. That's a possibility too. Nope, that's not true. I just got identified by probably normal means. There we go. Awkward angle for my main fleet, but I'll take it. And I gotta say, false maneuver is nice and convenient now, since it automatically changes my pathing. Alright. When I do a false maneuver, it automatically changes my move order, so that way I don't get inconveniently turned around as soon as I do a false maneuver, which is really nice. Just an awkward way to engage when I could just turn around, for crying out loud. But a light cruiser is easy to deal with. I just gotta prioritize this a little better, don't I? Now you can deal with our... oh god. That's why I gotta pay attention, and good god I missed with the torpedoes. That's a shame. And that wasted my pulsar shot. A lot of the reason why hold fire is so important, because I want them to shoot at the frigates. But I guess the Krakens aren't that big of a deal. Now I just need an opportunity to turn them around, and sadly you survived the onslaught, but you rushed. We're good here. Now let's do this properly this time, although it's completely unnecessary, is it? Now I just gotta wait for that excruciatingly long period where my pulsars are off cooldown, or on cooldown, and they could turn around at a moment's notice. Like this. Thankfully, that still paid off nicely for me due to the lack of claws, but that was not what I intended. Ooh, and the beacon spotted everything. Ooh, even better. We revealed everything. Oh god. We gotta watch for these boarding parties, but if I can boost out of the vision, that's an easy fix with this gas cloud. Nah, I thought I could boost. These are going to be problematic since their health regeneration is going to be a pain, and I don't have my entire fleet there to immediately erase them. I'm still spotted. Nope, that was a mistake. But can I board and at least kill off one of these Krakens? That might justify the sum. I don't want my cruisers to play with two Krakens for crying out loud, but it's probably going to happen. It might actually kill this one, if I'm convenient. Yeah, 200 movement speed, I don't even have to try to evade these things. It does force my movement some. It goes without saying. Now, let's burn the flagship. And I have a beacon there, so that's not a huge issue. Although I'm surprised I'm not revealing the Kraken right now. I'm waiting for torpedoes. Actually, I should evade just because these boarding parties are coming. That's a bad shot as well, is it? Damn it. This is probably fatal. Oh. It's damn. I was expecting him to rush my one ship here, but that paid off to an extent. Now I just need an opportunity to turn around. Really? You survived.
Seizing one of your strategic areas.
Well, that's going to be correct in a moment. Because I'm forgetting your regeneration is just as much health as per the fire assault. Oh, permanent engine destruction. I was kind of hoping to alleviate that some. But can we keep hitting the flagship? I'll have a disruption bomb up in a few moments. Get moving. Yeah, this is going to be tricky to support. But I have torpedoes, let's at least kill one of them. Although it demands I go after a flagship, doesn't it? A little tricky to do. And I have torpedoes, let's kamikaze this. You're going to regret this. Okay, maybe I'm going to regret it, but... let's kill this thing. I lose the flagship? Well, yeah, the flagship will survive, actually. It's just not going to have a crew. Board everything, get this over with. Just need to do a little bit more morale damage. It's definitely a tricky matchup since I don't have any frigates for like the easy spotting, but... even in the last Tyranid match, my opponent helped me quite a bit for revealing their fighters. And of course that weird glitch, which definitely made it difficult for me to try and play fair. We'll just say that much. Because I still am sort of kicking myself not chasing after it. But I really want to understand what caused that bug. In all seriousness though. But let's see if we can get something else that is not Tyranids. They're different opponents at least. I just gotta refine my play there because there is very little margin for error with the Asuryani. I'm starting to realize, at least against Tyranids, just mainly because again, I don't see them early on unless I get lucky reveals with the beacon. And even then, they can immediately rush into boarding range with me, which it can suck. Ah, there we are. There's the non-Tyranid match we were looking for. And it's Imperial Navy, so this could be fun. It's definitely a lot more comfortable, at least, than Tyranids due to my lack of vision, simply because I can deal with torpedoes relatively well if I hang on to my Wraithbone shift. Even if I engage them from the prow, they have very little weaponry that they can threaten me with, if they decide to chase. So it is a little more something I'm used to and more comfortable with. It still goes without saying what I'm up against, potentially. Since Dominators could still be a thing, Novacans are not that big of a threat, but I gotta make sure I don't burn these needlessly until I know for a fact if they're Dominators or not. Which they're more than likely not Dominators, since after all, if they wanted to use Novacans, you would think Adeptus Mechanicus would be the way to go, just due to how the Eye of the Omnisign being able to get additional longevity out of that. And never mind the fact the Eye of the Omnisign is kind of essential in a lot of ways. Now, extended range, additional troop critical hits, that can be useful here, especially against Imperial Navy. Can critically hit like an engine on something once they get to the first troop phase. In Maelstrom, I kind of need to wait until the engine is destroyed to really put the hurt on them. Just a question if there's anything else I can get more value out of, like Stasis Bomb maybe, for when I really do need to disengage fully. This would probably be the safer route, but Maelstrom is great for really putting a hurt on them, especially once I get the engine critical hit. In extended range, that's just convenience sake, I suppose. And this time I am going to go with the critical hit, since that's going to help me with destroying said engines. Okay, so 8 ships. I know 7 cruisers is possible, but I'm hoping 8 cruisers is not a thing. Otherwise, there's just going to be a lot of me running around all game. And here's something you may not have realized that I learned recently. You can set priority on these things even when they're not visible. Which normally, I kind of like this option since it's for convenience sake, for maybe the more casual players. This I do not like. I know this is a frigate. I know that's a frigate. Although the speed difference is kind of given away, but still, for things like Drukhari and Orcs, that is a big deal that probably needs to get fixed just on that merit alone. But I like it in every other regards. At least it makes it a lot more convenient for the more casual players. So do make note of that, whether for good or for ill, or for discussion's sake. But it is really easy to tell what ship's which anyway, so it's not that big of a deal in this case, I suppose. But we got the engine priority.
How may I serve?
Now, I should just go for objective capturing and play the more long con there, and look for a window to do damage to maybe whatever is hanging back here. It is noticeably slower too, so is that an Oberon? It could be an Apocalypse. Since otherwise we would probably be seeing fighters at this point, you would think, if it was an Emperor Oberon. If I were to be so honest. And we see the Emperor's Tarot. So we're aware of that. And actually, my opponent's kind of turning away. Or well, they're turning their side to me, which means they're looking for an opportunity to shoot at me, is what it means. I was thinking maybe turning around and grabbing the objective. I might still do it anyway. Since now they can't just boost towards me, conveniently. Oh, no, I take that back. I gotta watch that movement carefully, because if they boost immediately as soon as I Wraithbone shift, I could be in a lot of trouble. I would love to get the flagship though, whatever it may be, but with 3 objectives, I do have that bit of a buffer. And this will line up perfectly for all 5 of my cruisers to just hit at the same time. It's looking that way, so we're going to really put the hurl on this one ship, whatever it is. Now, since I know this is a priority, let's just fix that now. Again, convenience sakes, really nice. So that is an Apocalypse. So never Wraithbone shift, and it's a Grand Cruiser at that. You destroyed my deck immediately, jerk. Well, let's see if you can dodge torpedoes. It's not as risky as it could be, but this might still suck. Yeah. Okay. So that's promising results there. It goes without saying. But a lot of macro cannons, engine critical hit, I do not like that. Well, that I can't explain too much there, but that thing's pretty much dead mostly. Or really damn close to dying. Yeah, well, that's one Grand Cruiser gone. Let's prepare for our next victim. I was a little bit worried maybe my opponent didn't know how important it is to actually dodge those, but apparently I probably should have Disruption Bomb, but I can use that on my second target. And where's my flagship? You already fired. Now, I'm waiting for the boost. I am really terrified of Wraithbone shifting. But that's fine. There. My opponent dodged them effectively enough. I was a little bit worried this might be a little one-sided. But right now I have a massive lead because of that. Mostly a misplay from my opponent, so they have a chance to redeem themselves. But slow and steady wins the race here. I would like to get critical hits, but... Cold Arms? Ooh, that was... Well, that's another misclick, and damn it, that's the one thing I dislike most about these pulsars, since they don't have it, they're not activatable. I just ruined their fire rate on that one weapon. Even though it's not a big deal at the moment, since I am trying to disengage, and shield's just recharged. So maybe I could aim that a little bit better. But again, this isn't what I'm talking about. Since they're flying towards me, there's very little risk of me taking damage until they decide to commit their boosters to hitting me. And you have no high energy turn, so I am not afraid to commit to this. And you just stood still for me too. That is fatal. Although this might suck. That had to hurt. Now there is the one minor weakness of the Novacan in full effect. It's a very subtle thing to think about, but that was taken advantage of beautifully. Oh well. Maybe this is not all that exciting of a match anymore, but damn, there's something you as an Adeptus Mechanicus player or anyone using Novacans need to be mindful of. If you leave yourself open to that, that is 10 seconds of you not moving, and you can't do anything about it. You cannot cancel a Novacan or anything like that. Oh, I don't know if I would like that there. Maybe Armada 1 thing about being able to pick ships, but this is why I like the balanced roster, dang it. Not trying to metagame it some. I gone into this 5 cruiser fleet knowing it was bad against bad at fission, which would make it bad against Drukhari to some extent, bad against Tyranids. I gone in there kind of knowing that. Hell, it's part of the reason why I like having a carrier fleet with a lot of my ships, or a carrier ship, even though a single ship, it can be really damn impactful. Aww. It's not that it doesn't exist, it's just harder. It's a shame. I'm just waiting for this to end. Aww. I don't know if that was a slight against my Imperial Navy fleet or all the other fleets I try and mix up or not. Ah, well. This will be over momentarily. Huh, I'm just surprised the match hasn't ended or not. Since both these have their decks destroyed, so they shouldn't be able to rally. So I wonder what we're missing. Probably the frigates. Probably the frigates. I actually do like the potential of my Imperial Navy fleet there. It's just a lot more difficult to utilize because there's more moving pieces. But nonetheless, I'm just I'm just interested to have this done now. Since we've seen all that we need to see, that one little subtle weakness of firing Novacans is all we need to see out of this match, I think. It is painful nonetheless. I know the weakness of this 5 cruiser fleet. It only has one solar sail, which I never talked about, since it is a unique trait that the Eldar, the Corsairs, and the Craft Worlds have. But in the case here, they only have a single solar sail, which means if an engine critical hit ever happens at all, well, Tau is kind of one of the simpler factions to get into, mainly because of the convenience of seeker missiles. Since a lot of players just rely on the brute force of seeker missiles to get victory. And to be fair, it has a lot of merit to it, since you have easy access to fighters to just basically screen for them. Well, maybe this is not the most interesting type of match, but definitely philosophical, I suppose, since after all, we're talking about 12 factions. I'm going to say it right now, that is a huge reliability to your enjoyment of this game if you try and go with a very single, or I don't know what the proper term would be, but a very narrow or very specific type of fleet. Sure, it's like I said, it may be more difficult, but this was it. I can't honestly remember what my Grand Cruiser is. The Exorcist single-handedly is meant to deal with heavy torpedoes, heavy fighters, and it single-handedly is probably the most important ship for when I'm dealing with the Drukhari, Impaler fleets. This single-handedly probably is how I'm going to win in any Drukhari matchups with the Impaler fleets. And hell, that's kind of the whole reason why with my Mechanicus fleet, why I have the single little Defiance here. it may not do much in the same regard as the Exorcist, but I've seen firsthand that these two fighters can amazingly deal with Impalers on their own, and if it becomes popular enough that having some kind of fighter forces the Drukhari to at least have one of their ships be a dedicated carrier ship with fighters to screen, then all of a sudden you're only dealing with 6 Impalers as opposed to 9 that has been sweeping the internet, or been sweeping the multiplayer, and that is a lot more manageable. I want to argue, since that one carrier Drukhari ship, it can't launch fighters if it's going to launch boarding parties as well. So you got that going for you. It's basically useless on the boarding front. I want to argue. Again, may not be the most interesting match, but to turn this back into the Corsairs, or the Asuryani rather, I know the weaknesses of this fleet. Really bad vision, since ultimately I really hate these frigates. They are not worth their points, especially with 200 hull. Maybe if they had 400 hull, but I feel they're not worth it. And then their other weakness, again, I hinted at subtly, they only got a single solar sail. So, it's a perfect example, a demonstration is those Tyranid matches. Once I start taking those engine critical hits, I immediately lose my Wraithbone shift. Whereas, like this Wraith ship or the Phoenix ship, they all have to get destroyed to lose access to the Falls maneuver in the Wraithbone shift. And that can make a drastic difference for evading them. I want to argue at least.